Fifth canto, text 31, chapter 14. Satrate nirvarodana swaira swaira swairena viharan atikritana buddhi nirikshanadim gramye karmanev vismita kalavadhi. In this way, the descendants of the monkeys intermingle with each other, and they are generally known as Shudras. Without hesitating, they live and move freely, not knowing the goal of life. They are captivated simply by seeing the faces of one another, which remind them of Sanskrit. They are always engaged in material activities known as Gramya Karma, and they work hard for material benefit. Thus, they forget completely that one day their small lifespans will be finished and they will be degraded in the evolutionary cycle. But materialistic people are sometimes called Shudras, are the descendants of monkeys due to their monkey-like intelligence. They do not care to know how the evolutionary process is taking place, nor are they eager to know what will happen after they finish their small human lifespan. This is the attitude of the Shudra. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, this Krishna consciousness movement, is trying to elevate Shudras to the Brahmana platform so that they will know the real goal of life. Unfortunately, being overly attached to sense gratification, materialists are not serious in helping this movement. Instead, some of them try to suppress it. Thus, it is the business of the monkeys to disturb the activities of the Brahmins. The descendants of the monkeys completely forget that they have to die. They are very proud of their scientific knowledge, the progress of material civilization. The word Gramya Karmana indicates activities meant only for the improvement of bodily comforts. Presently, all the human society is engaged in economic conditions and bodily comforts. People are not interested in knowing what is going to happen after death, nor do they believe in the transmigration of the soul. And one scientifically studies the evolutionary theory, one can understand that human life is a junction where one may take the path of promotion or degradation, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:25. Yanti devavita devan vikman yanti chitravatah bhutani yanti bhutechi yanti mad yaginopinam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship in this life, we have to prepare ourselves for promotion to the next life. Those who are in the mode of Rajagun are generally interested in being promoted to heaven. Some unknowingly are degraded into lower animal. Those in the mode of goodness can engage in devotional service, and after that, they can return home back to Godhead. Yantimat Yajinopima. That is the real purpose of human life. This Krishna consciousness movement is trying to bring intelligent human beings to the platform of devotional service. Instead of wasting time trying to attain a better position in material life, we should simply endeavor to return home. Then all the problems will be solved. I said it in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 17th verse. Envata Swakata Krishna Puni Shravana Kirtana Vidya Antasto Hiyapatrani Vidino Subhriksaka. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, the benefactor of the true devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his message, which are in themselves virtuous, properly heard and chanted. One simply has to follow the regulated principles, act like a Brahmana, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, one purifies himself of the baser material modes, tamagun and rajagun, becoming freed from the greed of these modes. One can attain complete peace of mind. This way, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and one's relationship with Him, and thus be promoted to the highest perfection. Siddhim Paramam Gataha. The Prabhupada is describing about monkey disciples and the descendants of the monkeys. So the Prabhupada is explaining that these there's people who, out of frustration, turn to Krishna consciousness but unable to stick to the principles of Krishna consciousness. Again, lie down. This is gratificated tendencies. Prabhupada says these are such a monkey disciples. But they are simply hopping around, not committing to this purest process. Now, the players, what we are seeing that how these monkey disciples, the monkey descendants, they keep association of each other and seeing each other's faces, they are triggered for sense gratification. See, the point here is that what is the motivation or triggering factor for these people, monkey descendants? Their engine is simply working on allurements. They look at each other's face, they're inspired towards sense gratification. Just by looking at each other, they're inspired towards sense gratification. And thus they are absorbed and obsessed. So, what is the difference between allurements and inspiration? You see, devotee association, one works on inspiration. Whereas materialists also keep association, like the descent of the monkeys, they have their own association, but they are working on the principle of allurements. But it is the principle of inspiration, the every devotee who is involved in this principle, so every devotee has full knowledge of where one wants. Whereas the principle of allurement, one is just driven in whichever direction one another allurement comes. It is random. Allurement makes one blind to the prime goal of life. And therefore, Sukhdev Maharaj is, Maharaj Jadabharat is speaking here that you see such a person is not able to realize how time is passing by, and one will, and all one's illusion and obsession is going to be finished at the time of death. Whereas the person on the path of self-realization is very much prepared for this moment of death, because that vision is never blocked. That vision is always intact. So the principle of allurement, uh, you see that the prime goal is lost. On this ground of allurement, envy breeds. There is great false pride and envy which breeds. But whereas in devotee association, there is no question of envy. There is always there's no question of envy. There is always following. Uh, there's no question of envy. There is always inspiration accompanied by great respect and serviceability. That is the point. There is no envy. There is sweetness. So Krishna and Krishna's devotees are in one line because the devotees of the Lord amplify the very heart of the Supreme. And therefore, connection to the Lord and or all the devotees to the Lord is not different from each other, because the devotees in that way help us in connecting to the Lord better. Whereas the Sangha of these monkey disciples is not like the monkey descendants. Their allurement Sangha is not like that. When it comes to sense gratification, a person is on one's own. Rather, the presence of others can create great disturbance as well. In the case of the Sangha of devotees, the the devotees help us in getting connected to Krishna, getting connected to Krishna better. That's what we can see. Let's read further. Yes, question. Simply by simply by uh, you see, such a person can never be non-envious. The question you are saying that okay, if a person not envious, others are preaching very nice, they can preach and I'll go to sleep. Such a person cannot remain non-envious because if one is on material ground, it is impossible to be non-envious. No? Such a person, his heart is that all this preaching is bogus. You know? So he is considering himself very great and he is considering these devotees very wasting it. Okay, they can preach very nicely. Wonderful, wonderful. You guys continue, like that, I'll continue with your main business of what? Eating, sleeping, making different business gratification. So this is not non-envy, This is already arrogance. There is no respect. There is no appreciation. Respect and appreciation means we want to assist. Appreciation is not different from assisting. So, neglect means we already have something else in our mind which is higher. So then we are intoxicated. It's not that we are non envious. One can be non envious only on a spiritual platform. Person who is non envious will not neglect, go to sleep. Person who is non envious will try to assist. Because he values the Lord's pleasure, he values the service, he will never leave the service. And he values the devotees who are offering the service very nicely. So he wants to assist them. That is the meaning of non-envy. Otherwise, if one just says that, okay, that these devotees do very nicely. So many people in the world, they are saying, okay, you're doing very good thing. Wonderful, continue. Is that devotional service? No. Okay, they may get some sukriti, they are acknowledging that we are doing good things. But if they are really feeling that we are doing good things, why don't they help? Appreciation without any action is of no use. still engrossed in false pride and arrogance. They are thinking that the path which they are leading is much higher than all these devotions. But let these people do it. They are doing good. You know? That means what? I am doing better than what they are doing. Simply means that. Otherwise, if we are doing good, why don't they join us? They're not joining us because in the heart of the heart, they are feeling that they are doing better than what we are doing. We're doing good, but they are doing better. That's what they feel. So it's okay, let these guys do it. There is already arrogance and pride in demeaning. Huh? Whereas this is not a non-envy platform. This is envy is there. This is make it pinch kind of envy. They're doing, you know. Okay, they're doing good. There, some people should do that, no? But I meant to do something better. No, already envy is there. This is make it pinch kind of envy. Demeaning, disrespecting, appreciation without assisting is a hoax. Treat further than. Pachet Drumavad ऐहि कारथेषु गृहेषु यतवा नरः सुतदारा वत्सलो व्यवयाशनः. Just as a monkey jumps from one tree to another, the conditioned soul jumps from one body to another. As the monkey is ultimately captured by the hunter and is unable to get out of the captivity, the conditioned soul, being captivated by momentary sex pleasure, becomes attached to different types of bodies and is engaged in family life. Family life affords the conditioned soul a festival of momentary sex pleasure, and thus he is completely unable to get out of the material clutches. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto 9th chapter 29th verse. Vishaya khalu sarvata syat. Bodily necessities, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending are all very easily available in any form of. It is stated here that the Vanara monkey is very much attracted to sex. Each monkey keeps at least 2 dozen wives, and he jumps from one tree to another to capture the female monkeys. So thus he immediately engages in sexual intercourse. In this way, the monkey's business is to jump from one tree to another and enjoy sex with his wives. The conditioned soul is doing the same thing, transmigrating from one body to another and engaging in sex. He thus completely forgets how to become free from the clutches of material engagement. Sometimes the monkey is captured by the hunter who sells its body to doctors so that the glands can be removed from the benefit for the benefit of another monkey. All this is going on in the name of economic development and improved sex life. So here Maharaj Jadabharat explained that just like a monkey jumping from one tree to another, Prabhupada further elaborates on that to find uh, or to allure a female for sex, a female monkey for sex. In the same way, living entity is jumping from one body to another and enjoying in the same abominable activity of sex life. So we can see this jumping tendency comes from the inability to control one's senses. Bhakti is the path of steadfastness. In bhakti, there is no question of jumping. The jumping always arises from the platform of sense gratification. Otherwise, bhakti is the path of steadfastness. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna also explains that you see uh, the state of indecision comes from uh, a very high speed jumping mentality, and therefore, in the long run or over the integral, one is undecided. One doesn't understand. It's undecided. The indecision is coming from this very long. Indecision actually is coming from this jumping tendency. Interestingly, sense gratification leads to jumping tendency, and jumping tendency ensures that the living entity is not able to enjoy anything, even for the moment. So, because sense gratification offers temporary enjoyment, but sense gratification instigates the jumping mentality, because now one is completely open and vulnerable to any signal which can promise any kind of sense gratification, and therefore one is just trying out here, then there, then there, then there, that where one can get a better sense gratification. So sense gratification triggers the jumping mentality, but this jumping mentality ensures that one will not even be able to momentarily enjoy the happiness which sense gratification offers. As such, sense gratification offers momentary enjoyment. But person will not be able to enjoy because person has got this jumping mentality. So the moment one interfaces one thing, one is thinking about the second. And the moment one starts going to the second, one has already started thinking about the third. So nothing one is able to enjoy. So the point is nothing one is able to enjoy in that sense. So therefore, this entire chase for sense gratification is a completely illusory game. Where is sense gratification? Where is enjoyment? Even for the moment. Because the person may be interfacing and try to enjoy one, but at the same time his mind is already hooked to second one, which is offering a better proposal. Seemingly. So one just cannot remain fixed anywhere. That is why in Bhagavad Gita the Lord explains that even the sense of material enjoyment shoots from the platform of mode of goodness. Because of mode of goodness, there is regulation and stability or fixity towards one particular sense, and at least one will enjoy it for the longest duration possible, at least for some time. Sense of enjoyment comes only in the mode of goodness because one is steadily fixed. The mode of passion and ignorance, one is so flickering. So this jumping mentality ensures 100% miserable life for the living entity. And therefore, the devotee as a sadhaka, one should fix one's consciousness at the lotus feet of the Lord. How we do that? Fixing one's consciousness by committing oneself to the mission of the spiritual. Then one will not be swayed off by the allurement. So when so the boat of our hearts or mind has to be anchored to the lotus feet of the Lord. How? Through the rope of the mission. When that happens, one will not be bored. So allurements require an anchor, and therefore the anchor can only be commitment to the mission. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Allurements otherwise will going to be very, very difficult. Let's read further. एवं मध्वानि अवरुन्धान् मृत्युगज भयात् तमसि गिरिकन्दराप्रये. In this material world, when the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and does not care for Krishna consciousness, he simply engages himself in different types of mischievous and sinful activities. He is then subjected to the threefold miseries, and out of fear of the elephant of death, he falls into the darkness found in the mountain cave. But everyone is afraid of death. And however strong a materialistic person may be, when there is disease and old age, one must certainly accept death's notice. The conditioned soul becomes very morose to receive the notice of death. His fear is compared to the fear experienced upon entering a dark mountain cave, and death is compared to a great elephant. So, further, here is the elephant of death. So, the elephant of death. So, one becomes shaken up to the roots at the very thought that of death. So this is very true that fear is a very fear is a very powerful principle which drives the people of this world, all of the universe. So people do keep doing anything and everything just out of fear. Just out of fear. Like many times people are frustrated working in their company life, but they continue working. Why? Fear. Not that they're enjoying it, they're most miserable. But why? Fear. What if, how will I survive if I don't have the job? Fear. Fear drives them crazy. Insurance companies are booming because they instigate the element of fear. Hey, what will happen? Suppose you die, what will your family get? No? A devotee is not worried because if a devotee dies, and by leading a life not true to the spiritual principles, devotee is not afraid. There is no insecurity. There is no uncertainty for a devotee. Because the devotee is assured of Krishna's mercy, you know, and the opportunity to serve Krishna in all circumstances. The devotee is not fearful. Materialistic person is very fearful. Fear. So they were singing that, okay, no problem, you know. So even if I die, you know, all the family members will be even Krishna fine. Just like Ardhaman is telling Devahati, I'll give you the best gift which nobody has given, you know. The best gift, that is love of God. The material things are fine, you know. They can be given, but they are not much lasting. The topmost thing I'll give you is love of God. The devotee is surrendering to Krishna, he knows that Krishna's mercy will prevail on everyone, all family members. So no insecurity for a devotee actually. Now the point which is being explained but here, Prabhupada is explaining that actually you see when fear is driving, the fear only drives one in a directionality of deeper and deeper darkness. So the fear is only driving one person to the directionality of more and more, greater and greater darkness. That's all. And that's why it has been compared to as entering a dark mountain cave. Just because if it is dark, the elephant will not attack. No? The elephant can attack more strongly now. No? Because the dark person cannot escape also much. Person cannot strategize. No? The buddhi will not function much. Everything is same. Dark. So the fear always drives on towards darkness, and that is why you see people become fearful. Because people are fearful, they go on amassing wealth. Because they're fearful. Almost okay, till what stage? Or they go on amassing wealth and wealth and wealth, no stage. They just go on and go on and go on and go on. But what is the net result? They don't even have time to utilize that wealth for their sense gratification. They're just amassing wealth and wealth and wealth. Like you know the story? So this person he was told that okay, now it's sunrise and your exercise to sunset. Whichever portion of the land you cover before sunset is yours. Run. Land everywhere. No? Whatever portion you can cover before your sunset, now sunrise, before sunset, is yours. So this man very enthusiastic. He said, "Oh, wonderful! This is the point, you know." They started running and running and running. Running. And then at every time he was thinking, "Shall I go back now? I've run sufficient because you to cover, no? Full circuitry has to be complete. Circuitry has to be complete. How much you cover? Not this way. You have to come back. You know that okay, this much I spent. You know this much length I spent. This mine. You know." So he kept going forward. And then he's understanding. The sun is it's past afternoon. But he said, okay, a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more. So practically he kept running till sunrise, till sunset. So thinking, let me cover a little more land, a little more land. And then all of a sudden the sun was set. How did he cover? How much he covered? Zero. This is much. No, this is sense gratification. No, this is sense gratification. So people keep on amassing wealth. There are people who don't take a single day holiday for decade. Just amassing wealth, and then death. And the money remains as it is. So fear uh, drives a person. That so because attachment, one doesn't want to lose. This guy running, and now Mr. He was attached. He was greedy. He wanted more. But this drive of wanting more is driven by insecurity. Okay, I'm given this opportunity. Let me not get less. Let me try to get more and more. People should not say, "Kya bewakoof, itna say, you could have got so much, So he was wanting to make it, running. Ultimately, where he was running for, he did not use, so he could not take benefit of it at all. Why? Because this is where we see this drive of fear. So fear fuels attachment. Person wants to hold on to what one has more and more because he's fearful. He has insecurity. You see the thing? Because person is insecure, the person wants to grab onto something and take shelter of it. That is attachment. So the trajectories of, so if you see, fear has a prominent role in intensifying lust, greed, anger, everything. Fear. Lust. A person is fearful, insecure. But oh, what I have is very less. People laugh at me. I need to have more. Take me, fear of losing what one has. So let me, what is solution? Let me amass more and more. Anger. Person is still, anger is also an outburst, The person wants to retaliate because one is fearful. So this elephant of death. Fear drives everything, Prophet says in Bhagavad. Drives everything. And that is why, from the beginning, Lord Krishna is saying that once you've started the process of bhakti, I will preserve what you have and I will lack what you have. No, I will supply what you have. Therefore, don't be fearful. The full miseries are already there, but who will be affected? One who has low misery, this, low immunity. And this low immunity is brought about by this mundane life. Fear is one of the very potent forces, and which triggers lust and greed. So a devotee who is steadfast in Krishna consciousness, such a devotee will have no time to be affected by these three full miseries. They are there, but he won't be affected. Just like if the circuitry is not complete, then there can be great potential difference between various portions of a particular circuitry, but because it is not complete, there is no current which is flowing. As one advances, one will be less affected by it. Therefore, Lord Krishna is saying equipoise. Being equipoise is the parameter of advancement. One is not allowed, one is not provoked. High potential will be maybe there, but unless the circuitry is complete, it won't develop. The current will not be experienced. So the three modes will not be experienced unless one fans one's attachments. Karma dependent. Hmm. Let's read further. क्वचिच्छीतवादति अनेकदैविका भौतिकात्मीयनां दुःखानां प्रतिनिवर्णे कल्पो दुरन्त. Conditioned soul suffers many miserable bodily conditions, such as being affected by severe cold and strong winds. He also suffers due to the activities of other living beings, also due to natural disturbances. When he is unable to counteract them and has to remain in a miserable condition, he naturally becomes very morose because he wants to enjoy material facilities. So misery is a game of expectations. We can clearly see that. So this person wants sense gratification, and for that is engaging his senses for that pursuit. But when he experiences certain blockage in that, excruciating pain. expectations. So expectation of sense gratification leads one to crazy endeavors for it. Still one doesn't get it, one feels very. That's what is being explained. पचेन्मितो व्यवहारं यत्किञ्चित् धनम् उपयति वित्तसाठ्येन. Sometimes the conditioned soul exchange money, but in due course of time, enmity arises because of cheating. Although there may be a tiny profit, the conditioned souls cease to be friends and become enemies. Tiny farthing being exchanged and friendship gets converted into enmity. As stated in Bhagavatam 558, Pumsa Sriya Maitho Nidhaname Ayor Mitho Hridaya Grantimahu Ato Griha Kshetra Sutat Yanasya Mohoyamahamameti. The monkey-like conditioned soul first becomes attached to sex, and when intercourse actually takes place, he becomes more attached. He then requires some material comforts, apartment, house, food, friends, wealth, and so on. In order to acquire these things, he has to cheat others, and this creates enmity even amongst the most intimate friends. Sometimes this enmity is created between the conditioned soul and the father or the spiritual master. Unless one is firmly fixed in the regulated consciousness movement. We therefore advise our disciples to strictly follow the regulative principles, otherwise, the most important movement for the upliftment of humanity will be hampered due to the dissension among its members. Those who are serious about pushing forward this Krishna consciousness movement should remember this and should strictly follow the regulative principles so that their minds will not be disturbed. So, sense gratification is a big trap. Lord Rishabdev is explaining this trap, and Lord Rishabdev is explaining that you see, this sex attraction is just the beginning. So many attachments develop. Sense gratification is a great trap. A Prabhupada is quoting 558, Lord Rishabdev is telling sex attraction. Immediately it transforms into attraction for Ato Griha Kshetra Suta Apta Vittera. Namaste Mohoyam. Whole life passes away simply being an illusion. Simply feeding Aham Mameti, same principle of Aham Mameti. Yeah. Like Ajamil. That momentary attraction made him, costed him his entire character, his entire life. It's a trap. Person bets everything, sacrifices everything for the sake of the sense gratification, and that is also not satisfying. Hmm? Yeah, Pururava Jayati, both of them are not satisfied in spite of enjoying so much. So person is not satisfied. This sense gratification is a great trap. And therefore, Prabhupada is saying better accept the dharma, the regulative principles of devotional service. What a trap is sense gratification. And one keeps running, chasing one after another, one after another, and simply wastes one's valuable human life. That is why one should uphold the principles of Dharma at any cost. That's what here Maharaj Jadabharat is explaining. Uphold the principles of Dharma at any cost. Yes. Oh, Divyam. It's 36. क्वचित् क्वचित् शीनधन शय्यासन सनादि उपभोग विहीनो यावत् अप्रतिलब्ध मनोरथोपगतादने क्वचित् शीनधन शय्यासन सनादि उपभोग विहीनो यावत् अप्रतिलब्ध मनोरथोपगता तादाने अवासितः मतिस्ततस्ततो अवमनादिनी जानान् अविलभ्यते. Sometimes having no money, the conditioned soul does not get sufficient accommodations. Sometimes he doesn't have a place to sit, nor does he have the other necessities. In other words, he falls into scarcity. And at that time, when he is unable to secure the necessities by fair means, he decides to seize the property of others unfairly. When he cannot get the things he wants, he simply receives insults from others and thus becomes very morose. So, sense gratification is a mad chase, it's a madness, it's illusion. It's like committing suicide. A person is trying to make oneself more and more miserable. Because the rate at which material desires increase, those material desires can never be supplied at that rate. So, therefore, a person is always in scarcity. Always in scarcity. And that is why a person resorts to unfair. Fair means cannot exist together. Fair means cannot exist together. One is greedy, greedy algorithms will not be supplied at the rate at which one is greedy. So therefore one has to resort to unfairness. Let's read the purport. It is said that necessity knows no law. When the conditioned soul needs money to acquire the life's bare necessities, he adopts any means. He begs, borrows, or steals. Instead of receiving these things, he is insulted and chastised. Unless one is very well organized, one cannot accumulate riches by unfair means. Even if one acquires riches by unfair means, he cannot avoid punishment and insult from the government or the general populace. There are many instances of important peoples There are many instances of important people's embezzling money, getting caught, and being put in prison. One may be able to avoid the punishment of prison, but one cannot avoid the punishment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who works through the agency of mental nature. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, and the Lord says, Daivi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. Nature is very cruel. She does not excuse anyone. When people do not care for nature, they commit all kinds of sinful activities, and consequently, they have to suffer. Have to suffer. So sense gratification makes a person crazy. A person is simply accelerating one's own suffering simply by embarking on the grounds of sense gratification. Because the attachment to sense gratification propel a person towards accelerating one's suffering. So one is attached to sense gratification. Mad, one is going to land up in suffering. One is increasing one's suffering. Even if one feels satisfied and says, okay, this much, okay, good enough for me. Yes. So this entire chase is a futile chase. Different modes are simply vehicles, but what one wants to use that vehicle for, if it is this drive for sense gratification, it is so futile. Whatever be the vehicle, purport, we did read the purport. Yes, we have read the purport. Yes, yes, yes. So when one becomes careless, not caring for nature and committing unrestricted, reckless, sinful activities, now in due course of time, one has to suffer much, much more. एवं वित्तभृतिसङ्गविवृद्धा वैरानुबन्धो अपि पूर्ववसनायामिथ उद्वाहति अथ पावहति. Although people may be enemies, in order to fulfill their desires again and again, they sometimes get married. Unfortunately, these marriages do not last very long, and people involved are separated again by divorce or other. As said previously, every conditioned soul has a propensity to cheat, even in marriage. Everywhere in this material world, one conditioned soul is envious of another. For the time being, people may refrain friends, but eventually they become enemies again. Eventually, they become enemies again and fight over money. Sometimes they marry, sometimes they separate, and then they separate by divorce or other means. On the whole, the unity is never permanent. Due to the cheating propensity, both parties remain envious always. Even in Krishna consciousness, the separation and enmity takes place due to the prominence of material propensities. So this envy is a material quality. The Prabhupada is saying here, because of the cheating propensity, both these parties will remain perpetually, eternally envious. What a joke. For sense gratification, person may ready to marry one's own enemy. Yeah, they'll separate. Or people sometimes they get married to drive with sense gratification. Sense gratification. So one enters into a trajectory thinking that one will enjoy, but that desire for enjoyment is so strong, and the person is inevitably not going to get it, and one will be frustrated, and one quits it. This is what is being explained here. The person enters marriage thinking that I will enjoy, but then when the experience is not that much, the experience is not will not be that much at any place, any person, any nook and corner of this world. The problem is not supply, the problem not situation, the problem is insatiable. Solution is Krishna. Let's read further. Yes, question. Envy also exists. Envy is darkness. Darkness, the opposite of God. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Andhakar. So envy is darkness. So envy is darkness. So no, the envy is not present in Krishna because the absence of Krishna is envy. That is Krishna is the absence. Insecurity is the shadow of Krishna. If Krishna leaves, there is one is never insecure. One will always be a beggar. One will always be a pauper. One will always be an abject poverty. So the insecurity is because of absence of Krishna. So yeah. So but if you are not connected to Krishna, you'll be insecure and therefore envious of everyone else. If we are not Krishna conscious, we are not connected to Krishna, if Krishna is absent, then we will be envious of everyone else. We'll be a pauper, we'll be a beggar, and we'll be envious of every living entity, including one's wife, including one's children, including one's everybody. You know? So, so this is not that okay, Krishna has all the traits what we have. No, we inherit traits from Krishna. No, this envy is darkness. It's the absence of Krishna. The shadow is not you cannot no, the shadow is not Krishna. Shadow is caused by absence of Krishna. The darkness is caused by absence of Krishna. Krishna is not darkness. Krishna is Surya. But if one doesn't connect to Krishna, then there is going to be darkness. The cause is the Supreme Lord only, but we have only sidelined ourselves from the Supreme Lord. It's indirectly related to the Lord, but it denotes the absence of the Lord. That's why it's problematic. Envy is also like that. The absence of Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna is Surya Sama. When there is Krishna, there is abhayam, there is fearlessness, there is full security, full confidence. And one will not be disturbed by any situation. But when Krishna is not present, then one will be envious of Prabhupada says material consciousness. Everybody is envious of everybody else because one is not Krishna. Without Krishna consciousness, one can never be satisfied. So indirectly, this envy is darkness. This is indirectly related to Krishna, but it denotes absence of Krishna. That's why it's such a such a dangerous vice. That's the point. Okay, so let's stop here for today. We'll continue again. Our next class. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, हरि बोल।